शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिने वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So my respects to the all assembled Vaishnavas. Today we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 18 and verse number 48. Anyone, Prabhu did verse number 47 yesterday. I'm going to share my screen. Can someone tell me if you can see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Okay, I hope that's big enough. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sadoshamapि na tyajet.
Sadoshamapi natyajate.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Dhumena
Dhumena-agnir-iva-vritaः.
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sadoshamapि na tyajet.
Sadoshamapi natyajate.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Dhumena-agnir-iva-vritaः.
Dhumena-agnir-iva-vritaः.
Devotees, please chant.
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sahajam
karma
karma
kaunteya.
kaunteya.
Sadoshamopi na tajet.
Sadoshamapि na tyajet.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Dhumenagniribhabritaः.
Dhumena-agnir-iva-vritaः.
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sadoshamapi natyajate.
Sadoshamapि na
Sadoshamopi na tajet.
tyajet.
Sarvarambha hi doshena.
Sarvarambha hi
Sarvarambha hi
doshena.
doshena.
Dhumenagnir-iva-vritaः.
Dhumenagniribhabritaः.
Dhumena-agnir-iva-vritaः.
Sahajam karma kunteya.
Sahajam
Sahajam
karma
karma
kaunteya.
kaunteya.
Sadosham apinatajit.
Sadoshamapi
Sadoshamapि na
natyajate.
tyajet.
Sarva ambhahi doshena.
Sarvarambha hi
Sarvarambha hi
doshena.
doshena.
Dhume nagir ivarvrita.
Dhumenagnir-iva-vritaः.
Dhumena-agnir-iva-vritaः. Any of the Prabhus would like to chant?
Sahajam karma kaunteya.
Sahajam karma
karma
kaunteya.
kunteya.
Sadoshamapi niyate.
Sadoshamati
Sadoshamapi
na
Sadoshamapi
tyajet.
Sarvambahi doshena.
Sarvarambahi
Arambahi
doshena
doshena.
Urmega ivata.
Dhumenagnivavritaha.
Vivavritaha.
Who was that who just read?
With Radhika?
Yes.
Yeah, good job, Radhika.
How old is she?
6.
You're 6. Good job.
Very good job.
Very good, yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, let's read word for word. Sahajam,
Sahajam.
born simultaneously.
Born simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
Karma,
Karma.
Karma.
work.
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 Kaunteya,
Kaunteya.
Kunteya.
O son of Kunti.
O
O son
Son
of
of
Kunti.
Kunti.
Sadosham,
Sadosham.
Dosham.
with
With
fault.
fault.
Api,
Api.
Api.
although.
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 Na,
Na.
Na.
never.
Never.
But.
Tyajet,
Yajet.
Tajit.
one should give up.
One
One
should
One
should
should
give
give
up.
up.
Sarva arambhaha,
Sarva
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 Arambhaha.
Arambhaha.
all ventures.
all
All
ventures.
All
ventures.
ventures.
He,
He.
certainly.
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 Doshena,
Doshena.
with fault.
With fault.
Fault.
Dhumena,
Dhumena.
Dhumena.
with smoke.
With
With
smoke.
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 Agnihi,
Agnihi.
Agnihi.
fire.
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 Iva,
Eva.
Iva.
as.
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 Avritaha,
Avritaha.
Taha.
covered.
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 Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Every
Jai.
endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work, born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Purport. In conditioned life, all work is contaminated by the material modes of nature. Even if one is a Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifices in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, a Kshatriya, however pious he may be, has to fight enemies. He cannot avoid it. Similarly, a merchant, however pious he may be, must sometimes hide his profit to stay in business, or he may sometimes have to do business on the black market. These things are necessary. One cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is a Shudra serving a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature. A very nice example is given herein. Although fire is pure, still there is smoke. Yet smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be the purest of all elements. If one prefers to give up the work of a Kshatriya and take up the occupation of a Brahmana, he is not assured that in the occupation of a Brahmana there are no unpleasant duties. One may then conclude that in the material world, no one can be completely free from the contamination of material nature. This example of fire and smoke is very appropriate in this connection. When in winter time, one takes a stone from the fire, sometimes smoke disturbs the eyes and other parts of the body, but still one must make use of the fire despite disturbing conditions. Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. That is the perfectional point. when a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. When the results of work are purified, when connected with devotional service, one becomes perfect in seeing the self within, and that is self-realization. Okay, so we are continuing with this theme of karma. And the third chapter is predominantly Karma Yoga, and fifth chapter, we saw some of it. And at the beginning of this chapter, there's a dilemma. Is it, what is sannyasa and what is tyaga? And with that point, it kind of led into karma. And we talked about action in different modes, knowledge in different modes, the actor in different modes. So many themes about karma, everything surrounding karma were discussed. And this is still continuing. And particularly in the last 3 verses, Krishna has used specific words. So in 1846, Krishna talked about Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. I hope that's the right one. Yeah. So yata pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. How can somebody achieve a perfection? They can achieve perfection by worshipping somebody in their own karma. And who should they worship? They should worship that Supreme Lord who is pervaded everywhere and who is residing in all the living entities. So that's the purpose of karma, purpose of the action. And then in the next verse that yesterday Pyariman Prabhu spoke on in many wonderful ways, it's talked about Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanushthitat. It is better when engaged in one's occupational duty, even though in a faultily, Vigunaha. This word guna means material modes. But sometimes, particularly in North India, the word guna is used in a sense of good qualities. I had a friend from Punjab, and he used to use the word guna to mean good qualities. He used to say, Prabhu ji uska gun hai. He meant good, good nature. Like, why are you saying guna? Guna is, 3 modes. It could be anything. But then he said, no, when we use it in that context. So here, the opposite, vigunaha, is imperfectly performed, right? Imperfect actions. So even though there is some imperfection in that one, it is better than doing someone else's occupational duty. So now, in the same verse, he says, Svabhava niyatam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. If you do your own work, then you will not, be, contaminated by this kilbisham, by this sinful reaction, and by this contamination. You will not get this contamination if you are engaged in your own duty. So if you see in this particular verse, in the previous verse, we said, Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. By your activities, worship him, that Supreme Lord. And in this verse number 47, there is Swadharma, and then later karma. So previously Swakarma, and here it is Swadharma, and then Paradharma, and then Swabhava Niyatam Karma. And the verse that we are reading today, it is talking about Sahajam Karma. So what is Krishna doing here? The play of words, karma and dharma, dharma, karma. So this is very important point. In one of the lectures, Prabhupada explains, Swadharma, Swakarma, both are same. Why is Prabhupada saying they both are same? Why should Prabhupada saying like that? So here we can see Krishna is also using them in a similar manner, Swadharma and Swakarma. So the word dharma, it comes from the root, dhatu, dri, dharana, poshana, to sustain, to hold. So many times Prabhupada explains this etymology behind this word dharma. And he says in the English, it's translated as religion, which means some sort of faith, and how dharma is not exactly faith, but that's something that's inseparable with the constitutional position of the living entity. That which actually sustains us, that which maintains us, that is dharma. So in that context, then Prabhupada is explaining, and here Krishna is also saying karma and dharma, they are very closely related. So karma should not be sahajam karma, that karma that is our nature, sahajam, which is born along. Ja means to take birth. That's where the janma comes from. So then sahajam karma, that which is born simultaneously, born along with, we say the word saha means along with. Ramena saha gacchati, he goes along with Lord Rama. So what is this simultaneously born? What does that mean? That means when we took this body, we also brought along some nature with us, a particular nature with us. And that nature motivates us to do things in a particular way. You see little children, the little girl Radhika, she was naturally chanting these things. And I don't know how many of us was at 6 years trying to recite Bhagavad Gita when we were 6 years old. Some people may be attracted to something else naturally by birth. The little children, they can tell you all sorts of cars, that mind-boggling. They can tell this car is this brand, this car is this brand, and this is Toyota, this is something else, and this is dump truck, and this is, you name it, they tell all those things. Little kids. So it seems they have lots of expertise in this area coming from previous lives. Similarly, certain kids may be good from the beginning. They can, play mridanga, do all those things. So we may come along with a particular nature, and that nature may motivate us to do certain activities. So those activities, Krishna is saying, na tyajet, we should not give up. Sadosham api na tyajet. Just because there is some dosha, there is some fault, one should not give up those activities. One time, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, so I invited him to our home for breakfast. He said, okay, what did you make? He asked my wife, and she said, I made doshas. He said, oh, dosha, I have a lot of those. So dosha means fault. In South India, there's a dish called dosha, but it's a different sha. It's not sha, it's sha. But when you say it, it's dosha. So it's not those doshas. So, okay, it's not that this much doshas. So I can do this work, so I can have them for breakfast. So if there is some fault involved with particular type of work, then Krishna is saying, no, we should not give up. And sarvarambha hi doshena dhumagnirvavritaha. He's saying not just your work, but everybody's work has faults. Everybody's work, there are some problems. Sometimes we meet somebody, how are you, this and that. They say, what do you know about my problems? You are happy, I know that, you don't have anything, but my life, I have so many problems. Friends sometimes say like that, what do you know? You're just enjoying in the US, and here I'm suffering in India. Or you're just enjoying because you have this job, and I'm suffering because I have some other job. But we say, no, it's not like that. I have my own problems. You have your problems, and I have my problems. So there's no such thing as, this work has no problems at all. Sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena agnirivavritaha. Dhumena iva agnihi avritaha. Just like the fire, it is covered by smoke. Now, a lot of people may not know that fire is covered by smoke. Because in our home, we turn on the gas stove and it lights up nicely. There's no smoke in the fire. Of course, when you're cooking something, some smoke may come out, but the fire itself, there's no smoke. So what is Krishna talking about here? Did anyone in the audience have seen smoke in the fire?
Yes.
So when? What type of fire?
Like a wood
When
fire.
you're kindling, which fire?
Like a wood fire in
Yeah,
even
particularly with the wood. I mean, a lot of
Mhm.
people, wood or coal. Because that experience may not be there for a lot of people. And so, okay, fire, smoke, I don't get much smoke when I light fire. But when you use wood and try to light something, it's not an easy job. I mean, you have to kind of make sure there's no air and you go in between and then you light it. And as soon as you light, and you may put some sort of thin pieces of wood so that it can light up. And at the beginning, there's lots of smoke. And then what do you do when there is smoke and there's not, fire is not coming properly? Then, if someone has seen in India, you take a pipe and you blow through the pipe. And then as you blow, more smoke will come and eventually fire will come out. But when that smoke comes, then what is the problem with that smoke? Then, it's going in the eyes, it's bothering our eyes. And initially, it's not there. And for breathing also, it may be difficult. But if someone is cooking like that, so initially it may be troublesome, to be able to get some fire. But once the fire comes out, once there is fire, then happy, right? We can cook something on that wooden stove or stove, with the cow dung patties like that. There's no problem. And we can get some heat from that fire and we can cook on some fire. And this example Krishna is giving, yes, there will be troubles in any activity we do. But eventually, as we go along with that one, with a proper way, with a proper attitude, and we can get some very good result of the work that we are doing. So, but what is the proper attitude? What is the proper attitude that one should have? Is Prabhupada explains in the second paragraph, in the second half of it, right? One should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. So this is the connection. When these activities are connected with Krishna consciousness, that's where karma meets dharma, right? Is the karma has to be aligned with the dharma. Otherwise, then there will be problems. But if you have proper motivation, then it is connected with Krishna, then there is no problem. It will be troublesome, but it will lead to a proper conclusion, these kind of activities. So Prabhupada said that is the perfectional point. And this perfectional point was previously mentioned also. Swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim bindati manavaha. A man will attain perfection when, using our occupational duties, we serve the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, everything else, all these things, yesterday we were talking about, a Shudra may have a master, he has to obey the master. Even here, Prabhupada is talking about that. So then we say, well, what if, that master is abusing the Shudra? Right? He is really a mean guy, abusing, and is there still perfection involved, or should that Shudra change his master? Well, the perfection will be there when Shudra is engaged in the service of a master who is doing his dharma and connected to Krishna properly. If he's not, yes, he should go to another master who is properly situated, and then he should serve and obey that master. Yes, there may be problems. Same thing with everything, right? It may be children obeying the parents, or it may be the relationship of wife and husband. So many relationships are there. But this natural connection, this is the basis of everything. Why Krishna is saying you have to do your occupational duty and then there will be perfection. Of course, it will be there when they are properly connected for the purpose of satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. If it is not for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then there will not be proper outcome from it. So therefore, we must make sure a Shudra has to find a master so that through that service to the master, he can somehow connect to Krishna. Same thing, a Vaishya should do his occupational duty so that somehow the results of his occupation or even the occupation itself will be noble enough to be connected to Krishna consciousness. Same thing with the Kshatriya and same thing with the Brahmana. So all of these occupations can be disconnected from Krishna consciousness, every single one, even the occupation of a Brahmana. You've seen the example of Shukracharya. Bali Maharaj has to reject his guru because Shukracharya was saying, don't give charity to Vamanadev. And for that reason, Bali Maharaj is one of the Mahajana because he knew the principle. Yes, this Varnashrama, this occupation, all these things are there. But what is the main principle in all of this? The main principle is they should be connected to Krishna. And here, Prabhupada also says, when a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. So yes, there are defects, but he's saying those defects are also purified. Oh, how is this possible? One time when Krishna appeared in Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj was so happy, and he donated literally millions of cows in charity. I think 2 million or something like that. He gave cows in charity. And in that context, Shukadeva Goswami explains that there are different things that will purify different things. Like tapasya, when we perform austerities, like for Kartik, devotees may be taking some vows, getting up early in the morning, or whatever austerities, vows someone may have taken. Tapasya purifies our senses. When we do austerity, it purifies our senses. So similarly, when we give the results of our occupation in charity to a Brahmana, then that our occupation will be purified, the wealth will be purified. So when we attain this wealth, we all go to say, whether we may be Shudra, going to a master at our office, anybody who is working for money is a Shudra in terms of occupation, because only a Shudra works for salary. A Vaishya is making his own money, a Kshatriya is imposing taxes, and a Brahmana is collecting charity in the ideal Varnashrama system. So there are many of us who are engineers or whoever it may be working for somebody and taking salary. And along with that comes, because we are working for somebody, we have to do certain things that we may not like to do. Or even we may not know how our work is contributing to some sinful activity. One of the reasons my company is we make semiconductor chips, and then they go into cell phones and computers and all these things. Then I'm like, okay, at least there is no direct sin involved in this one. And I was discussing with my Guru Maharaj, he said, we were talking about someone else's occupation, which was kind of more direct. He was working for a food company, but they also transport meat. So that devotee was feeling bad and certain things. He was a software person, and once in a while he would, if they if they order, say, pig butts, meat, he would make it in such a way that it will deliver some vegetable stuff. He put a bug in the code, not all the times, or some randomly. So my Guru Maharaj said, don't think your occupation has no problems. There's so much pornography being transmitted using internet, into which some of your chips have gone into network routers or into some computer machines, some servers and all these things. So we may think, oh, there's no sin involved in my activity. But everything that we do, even the so-called, say somebody is working as a professor in a university, that's not an easy job. Whoever is funding for that job, they have a lot of say in what the so-called Brahmanical academics should promote. They promote certain type of ideology because they are being paid by certain departments for which the funding is given by certain individuals, and they motivate your work. When the British came to India, lots of Indian scholars to write in certain way that Indians will actually look up to Western civilization and not so much towards their own culture, because that's where it is funded by, and these are Brahmanical type of people. So no matter what occupation is there, if people may not intentionally take those occupations, but sometimes there may be some things that people may get stuck in. Then what Prabhupada is suggesting, what the Shastras are suggesting is, okay, you may be software engineer, but then you use your wealth in charity, giving it to Brahmanas who are engaged in the service of the Lord, where the money will be used properly for the satisfaction of Krishna. Then the wealth is purified in that manner. Another way to do is directly dovetail the occupation itself in Krishna service. So when we dovetail, say if someone is a software person, and you can build a website. When I came to Krishna consciousness, the first thing I did is I made a website for our temple in Boise. And at that time, there were, even Krishna.com was not there, ISKCON Directory was not there, Chant and Be Happy, that website was there. So very few Krishna conscious websites. So I was very excited, and I created a website and everything. And I was so happy to use my skills. Somehow in Krishna service, I would go to temple, take pictures, put it on the website. And just by that activity, natural meditation on Krishna, we may be working with HTML elements or JavaScript or this or that. Oh, wow, this is, now I'm using it for Krishna. You can name your variables, Krishna, Balaram. you can bring so much into the work that we do, all of us do. If someone is a doctor in the doctor's offices, they can put some scriptural books, some magazines that are related to Krishna consciousness. So many ways we can dovetail our occupations. One of the wonderful examples is George Harrison. Ganapati Swami, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, he said, I'm a sannyasi, but I can tell you this much, that George Harrison brought more people to Krishna consciousness than most of the sannyasis have brought to Krishna consciousness. And I was shocked to hear that. And he said, yes, by his songs, My Sweet Lord, and so many other things, he promoted Krishna consciousness like anything. And I even spoke to some Western devotees, and they were like, I used to hear George Harrison songs, and then I came to Krishna consciousness, then I found out, he was also a Krishna devotee. So like this, George Harrison made huge impact on the masses, huge impact by spreading Krishna consciousness. And not only that, he donated money to Srila Prabhupada for printing one very, very, very important books of Srila Prabhupada in the early days. Does anyone know what that book is?
Krishna.
Yes, Krishna book. Krishna book. George Harrison donated the money for Krishna book. And, devotees distributed those Krishna books. And this, my spiritual master, Hanumat Preshaka Swami, he came to Krishna consciousness through Krishna book. Now, can we say it was George Harrison, because of whom my spiritual master got Krishna book, and he became a devotee, and then I took shelter of him, and then I became a devotee. Then the source of all this thing is one singer who was singing songs, and Prabhupada told him, using your occupation, you serve Krishna. This is what Krishna is saying, right? If someone is good at something, how can we use that for Krishna service? Someone may be a good artist, good singer, good dancer. We can use all these things for Krishna service. And this is the essence of these verses that Krishna is saying. We don't have to reject our nature prematurely. In the later verses, Krishna says, we can give these things up. And this is not a new topic. This has been there in the 3rd chapter, 5th chapter, a little bit in the 6th chapter. It comes up again and again and again. So we dovetail, we find our nature, and we dovetail our nature in Krishna service. And sometimes we may say, I don't know what my nature is. But that's not true. We actually know in some way what our nature is. Particularly if we have been in Krishna consciousness for 1 year, 2 years, chanting, we should be able to know where am I inclined, what's my nature, what gives me, some satisfaction when serving Krishna, what I can do properly, and in what way I can see that Krishna is satisfied with my work and I feel inspired. So we can find something like that, and then through that we can make it better and better, and pray to Krishna, pray to Radharani, and eventually we'll find something where we can be engaged in the service of the Lord. So this is the essence of dharma, this is the essence of karma. So here, particularly the occupations, they should be performed for the satisfaction of the Lord. This is how even Srimad Bhagavatam begins. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami, sages are asking questions about, what is the proper ultimate occupation of everybody. What is the main that will actually satisfy the Lord, that will give proper satisfaction. So Suta Goswami says, Atap pumbir dvijasreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha svanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Samsiddhihi haritoshanam. The perfection is the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That haritoshanam. That's what here Prabhupada is saying, satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. The entire Varnashrama purpose is satisfaction of Krishna. This is the whole point. This Varnashrama, actually, when you talk about Varnashrama, when you talk about Varna, it will send shock waves in the public of India. It will create so much disturbance in the minds of people. In Krishna consciousness, we talk about it. But just go to general public and say about, hey, this caste system is good. And some people may even think you're crazy. Even the politicians talk about abolishing caste system, including the ruling government of India. Some famous intellectuals also. One of them is Subramanya Swami. He also says, this caste system, we should get rid of. Of course, he promotes other good things like cow protection and things like that. But the reason is they don't understand the proper way. The reason in India it had problems is because it was not connected to Krishna. It was not properly connected to Krishna. And it was not based on guna. It was based on by birth. And that created a lot of chaos, a lot of problems. But however, it still exists in a subtle form. It exists in some form or the other, like professors in the universities who literally do the job of Brahmanical job of Patanam. Patanam, they're constantly learning and teaching. They're doing research and then they're teaching to others. That's Brahmana's occupation. There are military people who are engaged in protecting others. Of course, the government, politicians in democracy, it's mostly Vaishya driven. There's not much of true Kshatriyas left. It's all either mostly Vaishyas running the governments. And as Kali Yuga progresses, it will be Shudras who will be becoming kings as well. Mlecha Rajanna Rupina as we move forward. But the goal is here, it is Haritoshanam, the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. This is the main idea. And similarly, that second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, so many verses, the entire second canto is kind of based around this theme. Second chapter is based around theme of giving satisfaction to the Supreme Lord. We talked about dharma. Again, dharmasya hyapavargasya narto arthayopakalpate nartasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya hi smrtah. So this point of kamo labhaya, when the artha, the outcome, the purpose of our activities should not be attainment of kamo labhaya, not for the gain of sense gratification. So one thing is we have to connect it with the Supreme Lord, use the result in the service of the Lord. But we can say, all right, I get $100, $90 for Krishna, $10 for me to go to bar and have a drink of some wine, alcohol, or get a smoke. That's not the point. It should not be for the purpose of kama. So we can engage in our duties, but don't use the result for sense gratification, because the sense gratification will bind us more and more to this material world. It is entangling, it will push us down. Then, oh, what do you mean sense gratification? Then what should I use for? How does it go? Jivasya tattva jignasa. I'm forgetting something where it says we should use that much for our livelihood, to keep body and soul together. That means for our basic needs and everything, Krishna is not denying. Labho jiveta yavata. So how much labha is there? Here we are saying kamo labhaya, it should not be for the na kamo labhaya, not for the attainment of sense gratification. Oh, then what should be the labha for? Labho jiveta yavata. That much that is required for our living our life proper way. Proper way. That's okay. But sense gratification, unnecessary frivolous activities, unnecessary sense enjoyment, that should not be engaged in. We can use our nature for the service of the Lord, either directly engage in the service or do occupations and then get the results and connect them to Krishna, live the proper life. So this is these are the injunctions, what Krishna is saying here. So I want to stop here and see if anyone has any questions or comments before I move forward.
So it's very ideal to not think about your sense gratification, but somehow or the other, it's not. We do fall into that trap.
Yes.
How do you try to,
Yeah, so Prabhupada
rise
gives
above that? Yeah.
yes, Srila Prabhupada gives different things. How the beauty of Krishna consciousness is so nice that it is not a boring process. It's not at all boring. There's so much variety of engagement for the senses. I mean, after engaging in Krishna consciousness, some time, everybody feels that other things won't give much pleasure. So this is rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. By giving some higher engagement, param drishtva nivartate, we can give up by giving something better for the senses. So what does that mean is, okay, usually people, when they want some enjoyment, what do? At least as far as I know, every single person, for them enjoyment means, okay, you may go for a movie, this or that, but get some nice, a very good meal, have some nice music, say go to a restaurant and eat a good meal, no cooking at house today, go out for a good meal, have some nice music, and hang around. And that's a good sense gratification for them. And Srila Prabhupada gave us this wonderful Sunday love feast. And honestly, anyone who eats a good Sunday feast, there's nothing better than that. Nice, the way actually Krishna conscious devotees, the prasadam is spoiling sometimes. I was in Vrindavan for some time, and I was with brahmacharis in the ashram for 2-3 weeks. And I was like, wow, is this how the prasadam is? The brahmachari ashram, fresh meal, it's so, I was like, wow, I guess I was kind of refraining from eating too much. So it's nice prasadam and good kirtan, and where people, they want to dance to this music. Wonderful music, wonderful prasadam. So we cannot ask for anything better, that's why this is important to create these things, right? Every service is important. The devotees who are cooking, they may not know how much impact they are making on other people, because they're giving, it is offering to Krishna after pleasing Krishna's senses, giving to devotees' senses, and wonderful satisfaction for devotees, and nice music for their ears, and also nice relationships. People want to go out and meet other people and everything. These devotee relationships, where it will give satisfaction to our heart. When there are loving relationships among devotees, loving and trusting relationships, there's so much pleasure. But ultimately, that's what the living entity is seeking for. People go online and looking for a date and this and that. Why? Because they're not satisfied. They haven't met that person who will give them satisfaction. But Prabhupada said, I established this mission, Krishna consciousness. The whole society is for the purpose of devotee association, where we can inspire each other in Krishna consciousness. So when these things are we engage in, naturally it gives pleasure to the senses. And when you have this kind of gratification, then really outside things seems, not so useful. I'll give my own example. One time I was flying back from India, and I had to, drive to the airport from this city where my parents are. So I had to 4-hour drive, and then in the airport in India, you have to go 2-3 hours early. You never know what's going to happen. So that's where in India it's easy to remember Krishna, Paramatma, because all the time you're in America, because everything is so organized, sometimes the Paramatma factor is not so powerful. But as soon as you land in India, you're forced to think of Krishna, right? Because you never know whether the next thing is going to happen or not happen until it happens. Anyway, so I got there, and getting on the flights and everything, and then I go to Los Angeles, and then there's no flight. The flight got delayed, so I couldn't take my flight to Boise, the next destination, so I had to stay in the hotel. And guess what? It was my birthday on that day. So here I was in the hotel on a birthday, and the airlines, they gave me a very good hotel. And then they gave me these vouchers to go downstairs for eat whatever I want, get the food, get the drinks, whatever you want, and music and everything is there. So I was sitting and I was hungry. I carry my own food when I fly, like all the devotees do. So, I was eating for that, and it was already like 35 hours or more, my drives and weights and all these things. And because of my travel within India as well, the food has gone bad. I opened the food that my mom gave me, and I could see on the top the little bit fungus. And so I threw that away. And I was really thinking to myself, looking at these vouchers, I was like, these are of no value to me. And particularly on my birthday, I want blessings from Krishna. Why do I want to go and smell this alcohol and meat and all these things? So I was smiling, and then I threw away some bad stuff. And then I was sitting there and I ate food, and I called my mother and I said, your food is so good. I'm so happy that I still have this much left. And then I was thinking to myself, Krishna, now you gave me everything, but I don't want all these things. When I was in college, the first thing that we would do is, today's birthday, let's go to a restaurant, let's enjoy the best possible hotel and everything. And Krishna, now you provided me everything, but I have no taste in this one. How did this happen? Then like, this is the power of Krishna consciousness, because I got a higher taste. And I was missing devotees. I was missing, my wife's prasadam. I was like, wow, this is Krishna consciousness. We don't have any taste for these things as we progress in Krishna consciousness. I'm sure, most of you relate to this experience. Is this not true, Gitamala Mataji?
Yeah, I mean, especially with things like, when we were younger, we would things we eat with onion and garlic. Now we can't even think about it.
Yeah. So but we may have still some propensities to do certain things. I mean,
yeah, slight propensity is still there. It doesn't. At least in me, it's still there. Especially, and Prabhuji, I realize if you're associating more with devotees, it's so much easier.
Yes.
So much easier. But if you're not associating with devotees, it requires immense, your own effort. It requires much more effort than if you're among devotees.
That's why, yeah. That's why the value of sadhu sangha is not known until we are isolated from it. It becomes so valuable. I mean, that's why Srila Prabhupada, I heard, I didn't directly
that's why I'm on every
lecture.
Zoom call, because for me the value of sadhu sangha is so I'm always thirsting for it.
Yes. One senior devotee told me that Prabhupada has said that a worst devotee is better than the best materialist. I mean, a devotee who may not be up to standards, this and that, but he is better than the worst materialist. Is better, than the best materialist. So because that's the thing, the devotee reminds us of Krishna. Even there are problems with this devotee, like what you're doing, Krishna will not be happy, right? Okay, all right. Still, you're angry taking the name of Krishna, but we are still Krishna conscious. But with the materialist, what good is there? I mean, it's like, it brings us down. It stimulates material desires in our heart. So therefore, being with devotees, and even if we have some sense gratificatory, some things, this and this I want to do, we can try to dovetail it. Okay, if someone has, I want to go see places. All right, so let's have some Virat Roop conception, go see places and see how Krishna is present in these mountains, in these trees, and the beauty of the nature is the smile of the Lord. Try to contemplate in such a way that make it Krishna conscious. So we may have certain of these propensities, but we can dovetail, or we may have some propensities to have some mental speculation thing.
Yeah, and I think in some purport or some Vishal, or I don't know if Prabhupada said in some lecture, he said that we have to accept devotees even if they have some flaws or faults.
Yes.
It's okay, we have to accept them as devotees.
Yes. So, I mean, we may choose our association where it is inspiring to us, the strong association. When I say strong, the association has multiple meanings. With some people, we are doing certain things from a distance together. Everybody is in the kirtan, we look and we smile, we say Hare Krishna. But unto whom we reveal our hearts, with whom we, sit down and eat prasadam and get some deep and everything. We pick like-minded devotees who inspire us in Krishna consciousness, right? So there may be different varieties of devotees we associate it with, but anyone who is chanting Hare Krishna, that person must be respected. This is the injunction of the
Yes,
Shastra.
yeah.
Right? They must be respected. Yeah.
And minor flaws should be just completely overlooked.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Actually, this will come up. It may have already come up. The austerities of the body, mind, and somewhere Prabhupada says that minor faults should be overlooked. In the 18th chapter itself, I believe it came up somewhere, the exact words that you used. Yes. Yeah. Very nice points, Mataji. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? Okay, if no one has anything, then I think we can stop here. We only have a few seconds to 8 p.m. Thank you all the devotees. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.